Yeah, well, yeah.
Hi,
Bronson, how are you?
How are you doing?
Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started.
Yeah.
I call the meeting to order. It's 6:03. And we're gonna verify the quorum, but we do need to, we have one board member from Formosa Beach, Trump statement that needs to be voted in for Just Cause AB 2449. So I need a motion, second, and a vote.
Second. Who's the motion? Rod. Okay.
Who's the second? You got the second?
I have Rodney as a second.
Ross Strauss.
Any opposition? I can do this one. Any abstentions?
Do I have to read if there's another individual?
Yes, and you'll have to have his camera on.
Okay, and then Rob, we do need the camera on, and
The
also
camera on? Yes, of course. Thank you.
and then we also do need to verify if there's any
Anybody
in the
over
room
the age of 18?
over the age of 18.
No, I'm alone at home on a secure network.
Sounds good. Okay.
So far, so good.
Now can we verify the quorum?
Yes, and I wanted to mention that sitting at the table now is Axel Palacios from the City of Los Angeles. The Joint Powers Authority amendment that you all considered did pass. We have 12 on file. We have 13 on file, actually. And we needed 12, which we got this week. And we also got a letter from the City of Los Angeles appointing Axel as the alternate. I just wanted to also mention on this floor that before you is the letter from Councilman McCosker thanking the Council of Governments for the amendment and appointing Axel, General Assembly flyer, and then you have later on we're going to be discussing the county sales tax, and there's an item here about the county sales tax. So those are the and then the handout that is from leading California cities. You also have at each table one packet at each table of the actual county sales tax motion. If you want to look at that, but there's so much paper. I just want to give you another.
And just a reminder that the votes do have to be by roll call, right? Because we have
Yes, everything will be roll call.
Okay, perfect. Any changes to the agenda? Or sorry, the posting of the agenda? Is that confirmed?
Yes.
Okay, and then any changes to the agenda?
No.
No, okay. Okay, and we're going to proceed to comments from the public. I do have one speaker request form. So Mackenzie McNeely, right? If you can make your way to the podium.
Thank you. Can you all hear me on this?
No? Put the button in it. It should be green.
Oh, okay, so it needs to be green, not red. Okay, got it. Thank you. I'm Mackenzie Neely Wright. Some people do the Mick on the Neely, but it's just one Mick, Mackenzie. So I'm with AT&T. I do external and legislative affairs, and I represent the cities of Mid and South Los Angeles, the South Bay cities, West Side, and most recently I also picked up Compton. So my job every so often is to come and just give you an update about what AT&T is doing. And for the last couple of years that I've come, I've also mentioned that we are laser focused on modernizing our network within the state of California. And we've been trying to get out of being the carrier of last resort. And so we're back at it again this year, but with a slight change. We have a joint proposal that we made with the California Public Advocacy Office. And so we, in this proposal, have some things that focus on instead of being well-served areas like I talked about last year, this now focuses on, in order for it to be a relief area, 80% of that area has to have a service provider that's providing 1 gig of service. Generally, 1 gig of service would be powered on fiber, but we don't want to say that because some broadband providers may be able to provide 1 gig of service. This also focuses on low-income communities because that was an area of concern, as well as communities that are underserved. So this is something that is included in the proposal. It also commits to building out the other 20% of that relief area over a 10-year period. You can say, why so long? It takes quite a bit of time to build and a permitting process and going through the whole getting the supply, identifying where to go. And so it prioritizes, like I said, the low income and disadvantaged communities. It commits to participation in California Lifeline, as well as a commitment to voice or broadband throughout the relief area, because some people feel we'll just say, oh, we're not going to provide any broadband or internet access, we'll just provide cell phones, but making sure that it's included. And then also we'll have a report on the progress report quarterly. So this is a joint thing that we're doing with the California Public Advocacy Office. And then we just introduced legislation that will somewhat mirror what we've done. And it's being authored again by Assemblymember King McKenna. The bill number is AB 2443 or 2143. And so I just wanted to provide that update and happy to meet with your cities individually or do a presentation at city council meetings or meetings, like whatever works. But just wanted you all to be aware of what's going on with AT&T, and then since I have time. A lot of our network modernization is evidenced by the things that we've been doing. So we just recently purchased Lumen's mass market business fiber. And so that expands us out of 25 cities to 32 cities now. And we're continuing to build fiber throughout the state of California as well as within the country. And then we committed to increasing our wireless coverage. We had a $1 billion sale of spectrum, the technology, not the company. And this allows us to provide better wireless coverage. So we are constantly improving our connectivity and modernizing our network. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we're going to proceed to the consent calendar. Is there any item to know?
I just want to reinforce the fact that item G has been updated, and we have the agreements on file.
Okay, great.
I move. Wait, I have a.
Oh, we have a question. Kimmy?
No, I would like to, just for a clarification or correction on the minutes, which are A. Okay, thank you, sorry. And then I had questions on page 17 to the analyst classification. I had questions on that as well.
Okay, so do we pull those for separate discussion, or did you want to ask the question?
And sorry, I guess it's related to C as well. I just have questions on those items. So if I could maybe bat in, and I'm sorry that it's been a crazy busy day, but and I did have a question on E, but so sorry, but I'm going to make them quick if I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So with regard to the minutes on page 16, I would like the correction that my statement was that I had commented that the cost of the lobbyist should be borne by the trust, because the majority of what reason for the lobbyist was to push for legislation that would amend the trust as it was enacted. And instead of, and then it was actually Jackie that responded that issue would have to be decided by the board. So that was the scenario. It wasn't me saying like it's going to be decided by the board or making a statement to that effect. So I just would like the minutes to be corrected with regard to that. And then on page 17, that one, there was an issue regarding the provision that, well, actually, I was asking for that particular contract. There should be, in my view, a provision that to the extent that Measure A and the La Casa budgets do not support this position, that no COG funds would be directed to funding any deficiency of funds needed for this position. Is that something that's written in the contract as of yet or not? Because yeah, we would be obligated to support it, even if we say the funding in our report, the funding's coming from these sources. What happens if those sources end and the COG ends up having to have that responsibility because it's our contract?
There is no sunset clause on those funds, first of all. And second of all, it's not a contract. this is a job description for a new job that we would be hiring. We only hired a job if it was authorized in the budget, which I think it is. Ronson, are you around somewhere? Is that conference gone?
Jackie, do you want me to respond?
Yeah, you want to respond?
Yes. And so, and then, so as long as, so this is a critical need position. And if we didn't have the programs that would support the position, then we had somebody in that position, then we would have to let them go. So we only are going to have employees working on projects that we actually, can fund. We can't just carry employees.
Okay, so that the funding ceased, that we would have to terminate the employee?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to know if that was already in the proposed contract with this employee. There was also in that same contract an indemnification clause, which requires, us, if there's potential legal liabilities to the COG. Is this something that is that our attorney, Mike Jenkins, approved and reviewed what the possible legal liability would be and made sure that the COG,
What page are you on?
it's page 25 of our agenda.
That's a
And there's an
different-
indemnification.
And Mike Jenkins has looked at all of these contracts.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, what would be the possible, we're basically holding La Casa harmless, and so we're gonna indemnify them. And so that's why I wanted to find out what that was envisioned, that what are, because clearly if we have some legal liability, that can be very costly.
This is a different contract. This is for the sector representative. That it's not the same as the data, so we just check it, we changed items, okay? And this is a person that we're hiring, that we would hire to support John Marsh. So it's a policy person, a staff person. It's not, this person's really, I don't know how they would. There's no physical work that this person's doing. There's no policy that they would be having. I'm not exactly sure how we get into any problem with this. And La Casa is funding it, and I think this is a standard clause that they put into their contracts.
Yeah, well, I understand that La Casa wants to, protect
I mean,
themselves,
yeah,
but we're supposed to indemnify any lawsuit against La Casa. So that's what I'm concerned about.
It's not any lawsuit against La Casa.
Well, that's
It's
what
for
is.
this position.
Well, and maybe it's related to this position. It's just, it's a clause in there that I just wanted to find out if there was any discussion with our attorney about what the possible legal liability would be, and that he felt it was de minimis and we could agree to this.
We send every contract to him. He knows that these are standard indemnification clauses, and I imagine that if he was concerned about it, he would have flagged it for us, because he usually flags anything he's concerned about.
Okay. All right, and then the other thing with regard to the Workforce Investment Board and the COG, it appears that in that case, then we are doing this on behalf of the city of Inglewood. No, so why was that clause in there about
I
city?
know, we also were concerned about that. We didn't understand it. But apparently when the WIB writes their contracts, they have an affiliation with Inglewood, and the contracts always say they're doing it on behalf of Inglewood. Isn't that correct, Kim? Isn't that what we?
Yes, that's correct. We asked about that as well.
Yeah, so we checked that out, and that's the way they write their contracts.
Okay, and there's an indemnification clause, and then there's costs of arbitration and so forth. Was there any discussion or review when did you review that with the lawyer
Yes.
too, and see where are the services designed to be used for the Workforce Investment Board people?
This is what we're doing for the Workforce Investment Board is they have a grant of their own that is to advertise an apprenticeship program. And they needed to contact businesses, and they didn't know how they were going to do that. And so I told them that we went to businesses all the time for our energy efficiency and we would add that to what we're doing. They in turn said they could pay us $50,000 to do that. So that's what this is all about.
Okay, all right, and Mr. Jenkins did review this as well. Okay, okay, great. Okay, that was the questions I had. Thank you. for addressing
And
it.
then were there, an amendment need to be made to the minutes?
The motion can probably
Include
include a
that.
revision to the minutes.
I would so move then.
Okay, so moved with the revision to the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, who's the second? Who's gonna take ownership?
Do it to.
Do Bill?
And Anita was the second, okay. Carson, not present. El Segundo? Yes. Bardina? Yes. Hawthorne? Aye. Hermosa Beach? Rob, you're muted. You're muted.
Pardon
Yeah,
me.
there you go.
Yes.
Okay. Inglewood's not present. Mondale?
Yes.
Lamita? Yes. LA City? Yes. Manhattan Beach?
Yes.
EV Estates? Yes. Rancho Palos Verdes not here. Redondo Beach?
Yes.
Rolling Hills?
Yes.
Rolling Hills Estates? Parts?
Yeah.
SD two not present. SD four?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, so now we're gonna go, into presentations. The first presentation we have in regards to the wastewater service charges rate. And for that, we have Martha Tremblay to present to us. Martha Tremblay has served with LA County sanitation districts for more than 3 decades, working in various capacities and roles. She's currently the Assistant Chief Engineer and Assistant General Manager supporting executive direction and oversight of all districts' operation and staff. Martha, take it away.
Great, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me and thank you for the opportunity to share with you on our proposed wastewater service charge rate increase. I have a brief presentation and can answer any questions you may have at this time. For a bit of background, the sanitation districts manage wastewater and solid waste at a regional scale. We serve over 5 million residents, 78 cities. We're made up of 24 special districts. Each district is financially independent and has its own board of directors made up of the mayors of the cities that are served or the chair of the board of supervisors for unincorporated areas. Our districts don't follow jurisdictional boundaries. They follow more sewersheds. That's why it's possible for one city to be part of 1, 2, or even three districts. And I recognize several of you are currently directors or have been directors in the past. Thank you very much for your service and leadership. And I apologize for those of you that have heard this, the presentation. The districts that will see the rate increase are what we call the joint outfall districts. These districts share regional sewers and treatment facilities. If they're the ones in the greater Los Angeles area here, you have a circle there. So typically cities operate the smaller sewers. Sanitation districts operate the larger regional sewers, the pumping plants, treatment facilities. This joint outfall system has 7 treatment plants. 6 of those wastewater treatment plants are what we call water reclamation plants because the water that's produced there, the clean water, is actually beneficially reused for irrigation, industrial uses, groundwater recharge. Our largest facility down below, I know it's kind of hard to see, is the Warren facility in the Arson. That facility is currently treating about 250 million gallons per day. And we clean that water and it was discharged to the ocean. But we're looking to change that with a project called Pure Water Southern California, which is a partnership with the Metropolitan Water District. So I'll share a little bit more. And we collect our service charges from property tax. This past January, property owners in the Joint Outfall System District should have received a Proposition 218 notice I brought mine to kind of show you. You might have seen it in the mail. As you're all aware, this notice is required prior to an increase. It provides information on what the increase is. We will have public information meetings and hearings. Also, there's information on how a property owner can save money if they're low water users. So I'll share a little bit about that. The next slide. Oh, and very important, this is going to the parcel, the property owner, and it'll have specific parcel information. This is all important since the protest needs to include that information. So how is the money currently spent? We operate regional sewer system treatment facilities. These type of facilities operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, require staff that are highly trained and qualified to ensure that these systems are properly operated to prevent any overflows, any impacts to public health and the environment. We currently, these treatment facilities, we've seen cost increase, and in terms of future infrastructure investments, everything is getting more expensive and older. But why are we looking at an increase now? Our last increase was 4 years ago. And what we've seen is within that time period, our operating costs increased 20%, yet those rates only covered 10% of that. So what we have been doing these past 4 years are actually using the reserves that were available within the district. So if we need to start making that up, try to catch up to inflation. A lot of the electricity and chemicals that are necessary for wastewater treatment, those are actually increasing in cost higher than inflation. And we're also needing to address aging infrastructure. We have sewers and treatment plants that need new equipment. On the sewer side, back in 2021, we had a major spill in Carson. It's 8 million gallons that unfortunately spilled. And since then, we actually accelerated the sewer repair work to make sure that we're able to get ahead of it. And then also we are looking to start additional treatment, start the design for additional treatment at the Warren facility. In order to be able to reuse that water, we actually need to remove nitrogen. Currently, nitrogen is then, the wastewater that we receive. Currently, we just treat the biological, we call it organic material in the wastewater, and it's discharged to the ocean, and there is nitrogen that is discharged through out to the ocean. In order to beneficially reuse this water for groundwater recharge, you actually have to remove the nitrogen. So we're proposing to start design of the treatment facilities that will be necessary for that. So now what is the increase? We're looking at, on average, for the joint outfall districts, about less than $3 per month. Specifically, your cities are part of either District 5, both, or District 5 and South Bay cities, and there the increase is about, for South Bay cities is $2.08, for District 5 is $2.75. I'll leave behind a little fact sheet on the table there if you're interested in an additional information. And if you're interested in seeing what the other districts are, what their increase looks like. Our proposal is to have this rate increase start July 1st, and it would be over a 5-year period. Even after this increase, so this slide shows sanitation districts in green, along with other comparable agencies that provide similar service. If you look at the sanitation districts, at the end of the first year of the rate increase, the total, so this includes not just our cost, but also an average of the local cost that cities graduate in the joint outfall district, we would be at $354 on average at the end of June 2027. If you can compare to the city of Los Angeles, who serves 4 million, we serve 5 million, they serve 4 million. Those costs are about $728, so double that. So even with our rate increase, we will still be lower than some of our comparable entities. We've done everything that we can to try to minimize the rate, the amount of the rate. We pursue grant funding when available, low interest loans. You know, there's less of that now, but we pursue it as we can. We're also trying to leverage long-term debt and try to spread out those capital costs as much as we can. We've done work at our treatment facilities to minimize the amount of energy and chemicals we use so that we can save money there. We also, as part of 24 districts, there's one staff that is shared among those. So there's already some efficiency there. And then also in terms of purchasing power, we take advantage of 24 districts working together in terms of buying chemicals is one where we are able to negotiate better prices. So we're able to do that, and we do sell some of the recycled water that we produce. Anything that we sell comes back and is a benefit to help lower prices for our ratepayers. So we sell some reclaimed water, some of the recycled water, and then we are also able to generate biogas as part of the wastewater treatment process. That biogas is actually used to generate electricity. And our facility in Carson that I mentioned produces 250 million gallons per day. That facility is energy self-sufficient just by the production of this biogas that we're able to leverage and generate electricity. I mentioned about a low water rebate program. Here, there's information is in the Proposition 218 notice. It's on our website. It's a simple process. A property owner only needs to do it once. They provide information about their water use through the year. And then from there, if they are lower than the base that we use for a single family home, they can get a discount of from 25% to 40%. So since we started our Proposition 218 notice process, we've been getting more calls about this than actual calls concerning protesting, basically. But and what happens here, if you apply now, it'll become effective this coming July. You know, since we charge through the property tax roll. If you get in the information before July 1st, we'll be able to make it so that next year you see the that lower you see the rebate, the effect of the rebate. Along with the property owners, industries that are part of the joint outflow system will also get a Proposition 218 notice. There's about 2,000 within our service area here. These tend to be more like the food manufacturing companies, refineries, and those types of facilities. We charge by the amount of flow that they discharge to the sewer system along, as well as the strain. So they'll be going through the process and have the public hearings will be similar to our property owners. This past weekend, we actually had the first set of meetings and a tour at our Whittier office for our San Jose Creek Water Reclamation Plant. We had about 150 people there interested in the tour. We had 30 people interested in the presentation on rates. So there was some excitement, you know, in terms of the tour and in terms of the property owners that showed up and had questions of the rates. You know, they were pretty reasonable in terms of concerns and of course asking about the low water use rebate program. So we have some virtual meetings coming up in March and April, and we will have another opportunity for a tour and in-person information meeting at our Warren facility in Carson on April 25th. So if you have time, please come and see what we do, how we do it. And then from there, the public hearings are scheduled in May, specifically for the South Bay cities and District 5 cities, which you are all a part of. Those hearings are set for May 20th at 1:30 in Torrance City. So in summary, I've shared with you why these rate increases are necessary to help us address increasing costs, aging infrastructure. We are sharing this this, availability to, if you're a low water user, to save money and get a rebate there. And also in terms of, we're trying to do as much outreach as we can, to let people know why this rate increase is necessary, give them an opportunity to find out about the rebate program and protest if they so desire. So that's the end of my presentation. Like I mentioned, I leave a little flyer behind if you're interested, have additional questions with our contact information. Please, if you get any questions from your constituents or your industries about this, you can refer them to us. It's our responsibility to make sure that we address any questions and concerns. And that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Jennifer?
Just to clarify, you mentioned a 5-year period relative to the rate, excuse me, the rate increase.
Yes.
Is this increase gonna be over those 5 years, or were you referring to
Yes.
something different?
Yeah, so what happens is starting this July, if the rate increase is approved, it would become effective starting this July over a 5-year period. So for this, so if you look where I'm saying $3 per month for a year, it's what, $36? It would be $36 the first year, another $36 the next year, another $36.
Okay, thanks.
So we tried to, spread it out in a 5-year period worked for what's a good balance for us.
I see, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question. There are many residents in my city that don't have sewers. They have septic tanks. So these rate increases do not apply to them.
They only apply to properties that are connected to the sewer. If you were to hear from some of your owners that are not connected, that they got one, they need to contact us to make sure that we update that information. It should only be going to property owners that are connected to the sewer.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go on to the next presentation, which is our very own COGS annual media presentation. For that, we have Colleen Farrell from the South Bay Cities Council of Government, Senior Project Manager of Communications. She oversees the organization's branding, social media, video production, publications, and publicity efforts to reach its audience. She's the editor of the COGS quarterly newsletter, South Bay Watch. She was formerly a reporter / anchor at NBC and CBS affiliated TV stations in the Pacific Northwest. She's also done several reporting and producing stints for Torrance City Cable in 2011 and was the marketing and communications manager at Torrance Memorial Medical Center, where she served as an editor of their internal and external publications, managed media relations, and publicized the opening of the Lundquist Tower and Hunt Cancer Center. Thank you so much, Colleen.
She's going to give you a primer on communications and marketing.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give an overview on my role and also an overview of some of our results from the last year. So as Bernadette mentioned, my role encompasses social media, print media, email marketing, the website, media relations, city news bureau, video production and advertising. Sounds like a lot, but it is. But I also have help from staff. They do a lot of content production, and we just brought on board a Civic Spark Fellow to help us with some of that work. So all of those things kind of fall under 4 different media types. There's earned media, and that's exposure that you don't pay for, and it's not in your control. That includes news, media editorial placements, videos that go viral, product reviews, and shares of content across social media. There's also owned media, which is print or digital content that the company creates and has complete control over, and that includes print publications, websites, blogs, email marketing, and videos. There's also what we call rented media, which is unpaid social media platforms. That platform acts as the landlord and the company controls its profile content, but the platform controls visibility, functionality, and can change rules, making it less secure than owned media assets. And finally, there's paid media, which is marketing, that is paid for, that includes print and digital advertising. our boosted posts on social media. We don't do a lot of this here because our programs don't really lend themselves to that, but we do it on occasion. So the first thing I want to talk about is earned. The first thing I want to talk about is earned media, and the first element of that is our city news bureau, and that what we do for that, we have a pretty elaborate list of contacts that are my counterpart for cities. And we ask them, we share content with them on a regular basis, asking them to share it with via their e-newsletters, their social media channels, or create videos. And I have to give a shout out to one of our top advocates, Rolling Hills Estates. They included us in 8 of their newsletters, and RPV TV also covers a lot of our stories. They did 3 cable stories over this past year. Going into earned media coverage, which is commercial media coverage, print, broadcast, and online. We monitor that on a regular basis, and we had 27 articles that mentioned the COG over the past year, and talking about why this is valuable, because consumer trust for earned media is 92% versus 50% for paid ads. So that's traditional public relations, you try to get that earned media coverage. The way we measure the impact of that coverage is 4 ways: through quality. How good is the publication? And is it valued by our target audience, which is you? So the LA Times would be the cream of the crop. That's our very high quality, where I love government.com, a blog. It's a fictitious blog, but that would be low quality. How relevant is it to your message that you're trying to get across? And mind share, how much of the article is about us versus are we just a mention in the article? And also sentiment, is it positive or negative about us? And as you can see by the overwhelming dark blue, we're doing very well in all 4 of these categories. So the challenge with earned media coverage is that it is very much shrinking. There's fewer reporters, fewer outlets, and fewer pages that we can secure media coverage with. 98% of PR pros report that earned media is harder to obtain than ever before. And 62% point that there's shrinking media lists. So that leads me to talk about owned media, which is print media or brand journalism. And for that, we do our South Bay Watch, published quarterly newsletter. And again, why is this media important? Because the earned media landscape is shrinking, and it is our primary tool for external communications. And the main benefit is that we control the message. So what is brand journalism? It's objective storytelling to create content that informs, engages, and builds trust with an audience, and uses journalistic standards that are used to perceive. So it's perceived as more credible than traditional marketing. So we produce 4 South Bay watches per year, and there's 4,600 copies distributed at 100 community events annually, and also the General Assembly. It's sort of hard to gauge who's reading it because we don't know. They pick up a copy and we don't know if they're actually reading it. But a good way to gauge that is also we send it out via email, and we have a very good open rate, about 40%, top 30%. And the industry average for government is about 19.4%. So we're doing very well there. We also look at what stories are performing, and you can look at the report online to dive into that more. So that's something we monitor on a regular basis. And another form of owned media is our email marketing. Another part of our email marketing is partner emails, the SBESC monthly newsletter, our quarterly green business newsletter, and Turtle Talk. So we produce about 100 emails a year with all of those categories. And so that equates to 1.7 million sends. And our open rate is actually up 1% from 2024. And our open rate is 19.4, or I'm sorry, the average open rate is 19.4%. And so we're doing very well there with a 37% open rate. Another component of our own media strategy is the website. And we are up 3.5% in terms of views from last year, according to Google Analytics. And you can sort of check out the list of what people are clicking on, mostly the homepage, which makes sense. And now I'm going to talk about social media, which is a form of rented media. And there's really three ways that we evaluate our success with that. And one of them is reach, and that counts each user only once. And that's good for maximizing the visibility of your campaign. And also another metric we use is views, and that includes multiple views by the same user. So that's valuable if you want to solidify your message or promote brand recall, and also may lead to more action, because the more times you see something, the more likely you are to act. Another metric we use is engagement, and that's reactions, comments, link clicks, and video plays. And just a snapshot of how we did last year. Our total followers went up 20%, and we had 687 new followers. We did over 1,200 posts, and our engagements were over 9,000. We regularly track what's performing well in terms of engagement. And again, you can take a look at that closer by looking at our report. I'll just click through here. But the key takeaways are that our homeless services content is really getting a lot of engagement. Employee news performs very well, and videos attract engagement. And boosted posts should be considered for maximum reach and engagement. And finally, that leads me to paid advertising, which we don't, again, do a lot of at the COG, but we do it once a year for our General Assembly. And this is just one tool in our toolbox. We do social media, we do email marketing, we use our newsletter to promote this event, but we also do these paid in-kind ads where we pay part of the fee for the ad, but they also end up being a sponsor of our event with Southern California News Group, Daily Breeze, Beach Reporter, PV News, and also Easy Reader. And my role sort of in the General Assembly is to fill the seats. I do some of the logistics, but mostly my big role is to get people to come. So our results with all those tactics last year, we had 400 attendees. So what is next for us? Our goals for communications for 2026 are to do more videos. And as I mentioned, we have a new Civic Spark Fellow, Moana Franco, and she's been helping out a lot with editing some of the videos and boosting our overall content on social media to build our audience. And also we're going to be forming a city communications working group. We used to have a social media working group, but this is going to be more all-encompassing. And the goal of that is to build relationships and mutually amplify our content, share best practices and tools. So we're looking forward to that. So that's all I have for today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay, thank you so much.
This will be on the website if you want to really delve into it more.
Okay, so we're going to move along to program action items. The first one we have is the mid-year budget.
And Kim is going to do that from this week.
Take it away, Kim.
David, are you gonna?
Yeah, let me
It's gonna.
real quick. Let me slide the.
Okay, and you can go ahead, David, go to the next slide. So starting at the beginning here, this is an overview. You can see what our adopted budget was, what we're proposing for the mid-year, and the amount of change between the two. The biggest thing that you'll see throughout this updated budget is that we do have the housing money included. We didn't have that when we did the budget in June when it was approved, and then it went into effect in on July 1. And now that money has been added to this budget. And then you'll also see here that we're doing very well. We did use the unrestricted reserves, which was already approved in the last budget. And that was for some improvements to the room there with the audio visual, as well as some of the moving costs that moved into the next year. And then the last thing is just to understand our budget. About 48% of our revenue is passed through to cities for direct services and projects. So the budget, you can see the amount there being 10,234,571. But most of that, all of that goes directly to the cities. Okay, next slide, David. And then just also to be thinking about how do we get our funding? And you can see here that off to the left side, the estimated revenues, a good portion of that comes from the homeless services, which is both the housing money as well as the homeless services portions. We have 26% that comes from other like grants and contracts. And then dues itself is only that 4%. And then when you're looking at the expenditures, you can see also that kind of represents the pass-through there. And then when you're looking at the homeless services expenditures, somebody pointed out, well, there's only 59% of that that's going to homeless services when 65 is bringing it in. But that 59% does not include like the staffing, for example. Okay, next slide. And then you do have details in your agenda packet, but here's some highlights. There's actually, if you look at the end of the budget itself, there's a detail that shows all of the different changes in the line items that are less than or excuse me, that are greater than 10%. And here are the ones to just kind of focus on. So the first one, of course, was that we had one program that ended. What was under the street to housing, and that was a decrease in the amount of the 365,000. We did have also an increase in the local solutions fund. Then we have received the La Casa funding, which I talked about. We programmed 2,751,909 into this program year. We have the Measure A funding. There was a little bit of a reduction in that, but we're expected to receive in this fiscal year. Then we had a little bit of a decrease also in Measure M, and that was mostly due to inactivity. And then we did have a new pilot project that started. And then we had the cool roof study, which actually was under budget. And then the next one. This is the expenditure side. You have contract services that did increase that 64,000. You have general contract services, and these are the things that they go to like studies and additional staffing that's needed, and that was 101,354. Had contract services, that is a new one, and that's a direct relationship to the homeless services funding that increased the housing money. And then we have city reimbursements. That amount went down a little bit, mostly because there wasn't a need to utilize that fund. Client aid increased, and then moving expenses. And then just some notes that, again, the new homeless services housing funds had started, and that was included into this budget. We have several grants that have been submitted, and they are pending. One of them is the Caltrans Sustainability Grant. You can see the amount there. We're hoping to hear any day now on the biodiversity grant. It's looking really well, looking really good. And then you just approved that Workforce Investment Board funding. And then we are still waiting and hopeful that we'll receive the Safe Streets for All grant that we were already awarded, which is a 320,000. And the next slide, David. And then just next steps, what's going to happen. So we will be preparing the next fiscal year 26-27 budget. That will begin probably right after the General Assembly. You'll receive that presentation on that proposed budget in May. Final approval will be in June. And in that budget, there is no planned dues increase besides the regular CPI adjustment that was already approved by the board. And I think that's it. Yeah, I'm ready for questions.
If I can just mention, Kim would normally be here, but she has been in San Diego at a conference and wasn't able to get up here in time. And we were on a panel talking about the Gardena project, actually. And apparently we were superstars. So thank you, Kim.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, Craig?
All right, thank you. Craig Quinn with Palos Verdes Estates. I have a question. There is that the graph that was listed with the estimated revenues and the estimated expenditures. With all the new money that's coming in from Macasa, does it make sense to identify that piece of the pie differently instead of having it all 65% of it coming from homeless? So that we can identify that's number one. And number two, without those funds, you were to break those out, how do we look from an operational perspective? Are we on target? Or is the money from the CASA helping the overall picture? If that makes sense.
Do you want to answer, or should I? When the housing trust is created, we will be breaking out at least a portion of those funds that are going to probably be transferred to the housing trust. Kim, did you want to talk?
Yeah, the rest of the funding that we have does support the operations that we currently need to implement all of the grants and contracts that we have. So we're sound without the housing funding. We've had the homeless services funding for a while now, and that program does also sustain itself. All of the programs work together to support a lot of your general administration functions, right? So they all support your admin, your finance staff, management staff. So I think we're really good at leveraging all those programs and then also still meeting the goals and actually overachieving a lot of the goals for the contracts.
Okay, thank you. The second question I have is in terms of projecting for year end, will we have that information at some point in terms of what you expect or where you expect to end up at year end?
Yes, David, can you go to the slide that's just above that? Right. Oh, you know what? Let's look at the budget. I don't know, David, if you can pull up the actual budget. The overall budget, it's on page 72. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you look at page 72 in your packet, it does the actual from last year, adopted budget, what we had as a mid-year, and how much of the year is remaining, the percentage.
Thank you. Okay.
So we're estimating having a overage of $761. So it's definitely a balanced budget.
Okay. B.
Yeah, I guess, do you want me to use the microphone? Okay. Oh, thank you. I have one. Yeah, I was just looking at it because some of the slides, well, actually all of the slides are not in the packet that I reviewed, but so I took some pictures, but in looking at the packet, it appears that there is a deficit from what you're showing more expenditures than revenues. But it wasn't really clear how that was supposed to come out that we now have a balanced budget. I'm not sure where this money is coming from. So that's why I needed some explanation on that because it looked like we were over 100,000 short based on what was put in the packet.
So if you look on page 72, you'll see, I think what you're referring to, which is that 116,473, which is shown there, online revenues less expenditures. That deficit includes what was approved to be used out of the general fund to support those additional items that I had talked about earlier, like the office move and the audiovisual equipment. And so you'll see the next line where it says 117,235. That was what was approved by the board to use for those for that work. And so when you take that into account, that's where you get your $761 in the block.
Okay, so is there a plan, because it was taken out of reserves, that there's going to have to be some kind of monies assessed from member cities to make up those reserve amounts?
No, those were one-time expenditures.
We also have a policy reserve. Our policy reserve is, how big is that? And then we have a reserve over and above the policy reserve.
Yeah, so if you look at that same page 72, you'll see that we have a restricted reserve that was approved by the board, and that is fully funded, and that's $651,001. So you have that in case you had some kind of an emergency. In addition, let's see, on page 76, you'll see at the bottom of that page where you have the 402,228. That's your unrestricted reserve. So that's for things like if you needed to do some kind of a special improvement, or you needed to do like a one-time, I don't know, assessment or something like that you wanted to do, you have funding available to do that.
All right, another question I had on page 74, it indicated that grant revenues are down by over 91,000. Are there any plans to increase that? Because I know we do a lot of, we have a lot of staff to basically manage the grant program. So we need the grant revenues.
Right. I was just going to say a good portion of that was actually a cost savings where the SoCal REN cool roofs feasibility study came in under budget. And that meant that the contractor didn't receive we didn't pay the contractor as much as we had anticipated. So that was a savings. So that as a savings, right, we couldn't bill the full amount on that contract because we didn't spend the full amount on that contract. So a good portion of that 91,000 is part of that program right there. And then I had talked earlier about, and I think David, that's on one of the slides, is that the upcoming grant proposed, I think is at the end. Yeah, right there. So right now we currently have the Caltrans Sustainability Planning Grant that we did submit, and that's that 399,575. The biodiversity one, which is 1.6 million. I think that one, I'm not sure what they'll come in with the budget. I have a feeling that they'll probably reduce it, but that one looks like it's, I think the last word we got was that they're finalizing what they're going to give us. So I think we're going to get, well, I know we're going to get something on that. And then of course we just received that $50,000 from the Workforce Investment Board.
Okay, then there was a reference that there was some retention and receivables that hadn't been collected in the amount of 137,415. Is there any effort so we're going to get this money soon, or is it just a normal delay, or is it something that we're going to have to write off, or what?
Where do you see that number?
That number, I think it's on the fund balance page. That was added by our auditor. We've had, when we don't get the payments in time and the fiscal year ends, they have us mark something like we don't have it, but it's coming. And we never used to put that in, and I fought it because I thought it was too confusing. But it's not anything that will hold up any payments. It's that it hit the fiscal year at a certain time.
Right. And some of that is because some of our contracts, we only bill quarterly. And then if they don't pay within, that 30-day that 90-day period, it goes into that like fourth month, then it shows up here on that line item.
Okay, so then you're saying that projected, at least for the proposed budget for this coming fiscal year, we're going to have a very, very minor revenues.
Correct.
And what was that amount again? I'm sorry, it's not, I don't think it's on the. other page?
It's not on the slides, but it's actually on page 72. And if you look at that budget surplus deficit, it's in parentheses, you'll see the $761.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, but because this is a projected budget, that's kind of close, and if expenses go higher, is that right?
It doesn't include the 50,000, does it?
It doesn't include the 50,000, but because if you think about those pie charts, because we're so closely funded with grants and contracts, it really those differences are things like our contractors will, if we pay for a study, for example, and we put it out to bid, and then that doesn't come in as high, those costs don't come in high as we expect, then we wouldn't bill for those full amounts. So that it's more of those kinds of things that affect the budget than us just not being able to meet budget goals.
Okay. And do you expect these numbers to change when we have to approve the budget? There'd be another reconfiguration, is that right?
No, this would be the final approval for the mid-year, and then we would start working on your next fiscal year, which you would see in May.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Looks like, do you need approval for it, right? Okay.
I moved to approve.
Approval.
Okay.
You don't need a roll call.
Yeah, no more roll
Oh,
call.
Rob left.
Craig was this. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you all.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna go to the next, which is the second vice chair selection. Who's gonna report?
We have two nominees. In your packet, you show one, but there's one more that is nominated. So Alex Montero from Hawthorne has been nominated, and Nina Tarnay from Manhattan Beach. And the nominations can now be taken from the floor. We close nominations and vote. We have the ballot, but we want to make sure that you know that the votes have to be announced publicly. So you can fill out the ballot, but we'll be announcing the vote.
Make sure you put your name and your city. For our records.
Okay, and then, so at this point, we're taking nominations of the Lord. Anybody
the buffer
right now? Is there anybody else that would like to nominate themselves or someone else? Speak now. Going once, going twice?
Oh, you need to be in the restaurants. Oh. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to close the nominations.
Okay.
Okay, second. Okay, and then at this time, I would also like to invite the two nominees to say a little bit about what's your pitch?
That's your pitch. There you go.
What are you offering?
Gonna go for Alex?
You can go first.
Yeah.
No, go.
And can we get a mic?
No, after you.
Oh, you're not, come on.
No, you.
Hi, my name is Nina Tarnay. I'm with the city of Manhattan Beach and, oh, this is on.
You have to click it.
Oh,
There you go.
green is on, red is off. Again, it's Nina Tarnay, city of Manhattan Beach. Just a little about myself is my background is I'm an attorney by trade, but I've worked in different cities and I currently work in the nonprofit water space. I work for West Basin Water Association. So I've had a lot of experience working with governmental agencies. And so I think having these skill sets will be really helpful in moving forward the mission of this body. I am excited to be here, just in general, to be selected as my city's representative. Actually had a fight for this position because we had other people interested, because I believe in collaboration. I believe in working with other cities and learning best practices from other cities. So it's been a really great learning experience for me to be here. And then I just want to continue to grow, and the the best way to do so is just throw myself in there and really embrace the challenge ahead. I see housing, transportation, the environment as three key areas that I'd like to focus on. And I'd love the opportunity to continue this work and would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Well said. Hi there, guys know me, I'm Alex Monte. Right now, I'm the current mayor pro tem for City of Hawthorne. And actually, I've been in public service for about 20 years, right? I was on school board for 12 years, and then I'm currently on my 8th year as a council member. So as a council, I've been involved with the SBCCOG since 2019. For 40 years, I have worked with government agencies such as Health and Human Service, Housing, Education, Transportation, Business and Economic Development agencies. And since 2001, I've been the CEO of two nonprofits in Hawthorne that serve residents in the areas of low-income housing, preschool, and scholarship for kids to go to college. And also since 2019, I've been on the Clean Power Alliance, the Sanitation District 4, District 5, the regional communication 911 system, and even the West Vesta board. So it would be an honor to be your second vice president. And like I said, for me, South Bay has been my home for 30 years, and we're looking for economic development, and especially all these things that are coming up in South Bay from the People World Cup to the LA 28. So we want to work together as a 16 cities together to make sure that South Bay will get a big piece of the pie. And it'll be an honor to serve with you, as I said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I guess at this time we vote.
Did reflect the bell.
So much action.
I ask a question?
Yes, I didn't offer any comments or questions by the rest of the members.
So Alex, when's your term up?
Well, I'm for re-election in November, so.
Okay, November, just trash.
And I'm 1 year into my 4-year term, so 3 more years.
Okay, and then the other question I had is we talked about, or there was some discussion
They can hear you on.
about, city representation. I think the last time Amita was chair was back in, I don't know, a long time ago, right? So do we know last time Hawthorne had a chair of the COG or Manhattan Beach? I'm just curious.
I think Hawthorne was Olivia. I think that was 2020.
2019.
2019.
Yeah, it was 2019, yeah.
And then Manhattan Beach, I think you had sent, I think it's
2006 was the last time
Yeah.
Manhattan Beach had it. They've had two, and one was before then even. So it's been a very long time for Manhattan Beach.
And the only reason I asked the question is just making sure we have, you think about representation from all the various cities in the South Bay. That was the reason I was asking
Yeah,
the
they've
question.
both been.
They both make excellent chairs, but good food for thought. Thank you. And now we wait.
Do you have them all?
We have all the votes.
I think it's
Oh.
one.
Now.
You want to tally?
Like election day all over again, waiting for the count.
Well, imagine that we wait for the whole month.
Election day count.
Before they announce the winner.
Yes.
Thank you both for stepping up. So.
Well, I have to say thank you for those people who nominate me.
Were you voluntold?
In the mix.
Okay, Rolling Hills Estates, Alex Montero. Palos Verdes Estates, Nina Tarnay. Rodney Tanaka, Gardena, Nina Tarnay. Manhattan Beach, Nina Tarnay.
Who would have wondered if there was some out there?
Bernadette Suarez, Lawndale, Gina Tarnay. Irma Galicia, LA County District 2, Nina Tarnay.
I should have came early tonight.
Alex Montero. Lance Giroux, El Segundo, Alex Montero. Alex Montero from Hawthorne for Alex Montero.
Alex.
Bill Uphoff Lamita for Alex Montero. B. Derringer, Rolling Hills, Alex Montero. Axel Palacios, LA City, Alex Montero. Brad Waller, Redondo Beach, Alex Montero. So.
Seven, 8.
Five.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Now you have to win your,
Yeah, please
election.
make sure you win. We don't want to have to go through this again.
July or June, because then we'll open up.
Or June
next-
30th. Oh, so it's until June 30th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's another opportunity.
Another
for
redo.
the- Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody on that. Okay, so now we're gonna jump to another exciting topic. Jackie, salary adjustment. Who's giving the report?
David.
Oh, Zane, sorry, I missed it. Zane, do you have a comment?
No, after the report. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so now who's reporting, who's giving this?
I can do this real quick.
You want the mic?
Okay, so per the executive director employment agreement, all salary adjustments have to be approved by the board in a public meeting and a non-consent calendar item. The board officers discussed this and made a recommendation to the steering committee earlier this month to provide a 3% increase to the executive director salary, which would bring it to 206,876 to line everything up with the rest of the staff's salary adjustments. They chose to make this retroactive to July 1st, which had been budgeted for. As a reminder that Jackie's contract started in September, so it's kind of been this off-cycle thing that we're it's trying to be now lined up with the rest of the staff. The last adjustment to her salary was back in August of 2024, after her employment agreement went into effect in September of 2023. So I think that's the overall recommendation from both the board officers and then the steering committee earlier this month.
Well, last board meeting and then, yeah.
Yeah, got it. And then there's the in the packet was the amendment to the agreement memorializing all of this should be approved.
Do we have any questions at this time? Right?
Is this
And then
amount,
B and then Fox.
is this amount included in the budget that we just looked at?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, me.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep forgetting, I need to use the microphone. I just, in terms of the fact that we have a budget surplus of $761 and things fluctuate. I'm just concerned about it. I mean, I love Jackie. She does a great job. That is not the issue. I'm just trying to be more fiscally conservative with our assets, given the fluctuations we have with the grants. We sometimes get them, we sometimes don't, but you can't just terminate people on the spot. Sometimes you have to give them notice or whatever. I'm just saying, I think that when we went to the employee status, I know when it was coming up, we were told that everything was going to be basically the same. They're just going to change us to employees. But that, of course, did not end up happening if there were extra costs because of the benefits and so forth. So, there are extra charges that COG is paying now. Now that Jackie's, an employee of ours than she was when she was a contractor. And so I'm just saying that I think that we should defer this until we actually have something bigger of a surplus. And I understand they figured that into into the budget and so forth, but I just don't think we should cut it that close. And so I think that we should just table it to, I don't know, 6 months or so at least, to revisit it and see what the finances look like.
Okay, and then we'll go to Alex and then Zane after Alex.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question, so this is going to be from July 1st, 2025 to June 30, 2026? Until
Yes.
June?
No, it's
No?
July first until you change it
Yeah,
again.
they change it again. Right.
Yeah, no, it's till you change it again.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Zane?
Excuse me, sorry I couldn't be there, but so my objection is based on procedure. In the city of Redondo Beach, we met 4 times in closed session, 3 times without the city manager, and then 1 time finally to review our results to our awesome city manager, along with our evaluation report. And then an open session subsequent to that last meeting, or after the 3rd meeting, we upped the city manager's salary to $310,000. So I'm all for increasing employee salary. On December 5th, I texted Chair Suarez and asked her if we would be doing an evaluation of the executive director, because at the city of Redondo Beach, we're doing a multi-hearing evaluation of our city manager. So that triggered the question. I recall last year under Chair Tanaka, we had done a closed session evaluation of the executive director, and then moved on to approve cost of living increase. So my objection is, I think from a good governance standpoint, an evaluation, a closed session evaluation of at least 1 session, if not 2 sessions, where that feedback's given back to the executive director should occur at some point or with some regularity. And usually before a raise is given, but I understand here it's already trailing. So I wouldn't mind if this is approved, but we go back to that process, but there should be some regular executive director feedback, unless everybody believes that the job being done is perfect and there is no constructive criticism to give. So those are my 2 cents. Thanks.
Yeah, and then remind me, I think the issue was that when we converted Jackie, they didn't line up in terms of certain things that you had. Did you want to?
I can clarify if you'd like. Yeah, so as Bernadette was kind of mentioning, because she joined in September, things have been askew since she was first converted to an employee. In her contract, she does every year have to have an evaluation by May 31st. And so that will be happening at some point in the next couple of months, in a closed session like we did last year.
Yeah, and if I can just add, the last time I got an increase was August 2024. Then an evaluation was done in March and there was no increase. And then, so it's taken this much time for the last year's to come back. And now you're going to have to start another evaluation. So there was no increase after the last evaluation.
So just for clarification, going forward, now we're gonna have the evaluation, and then if there's deemed to, suggest a increase, it'll line up
It should.
with the budget and whatnot, with all the other employees. So that way it reflects on the budget.
Right.
Okay. Okay, B.
Yeah, I mean, I have another issue. I don't know necessarily that Jackie has to line up with the other employees. She's an executive director. I mean, she manages the other employees. I don't know that that's necessarily a thing. So am I understanding that this proposed increase is going back to July 2025, which would be like almost, because we're talking about a budget and we're talking about where our budget's going to start this July. So we're talking about giving it retroactively for almost like 9 months.
There was retroactive, yes, and we did discuss this at the last board meeting, yeah.
And it had been budgeted in
Yeah.
the adopted budget
Because
for
it
July
was-
1st.
Because of the August 24th, was the last time.
Right.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that should be a separate issue, because I do agree that there should be a evaluation. It should be done in closed session. where people can be candid and talk about if there's any things that should be given we do that with our city manager, and I'm sure most of the other cities do that as well. So that they are presented even a formal written performance evaluation so that there can be contributions to that, because I agree, no one's perfect. I mean, Jackie's doing a good job, and that's not a dispute, but there are things sometimes when, information may not be as clear or addressed, and questions have to be asked, things of that nature, but I'm just saying that I don't know, I think that's a separate issue. I don't know why it's necessarily, there's going to be an increase, that it has to be retroactive.
I have another question too, though. So the other associations, and I don't know, because I'm not always the delegate, do they do, and I know that, I don't know if they line up to, do they do that with contract cities, independent cities and all that? Where you do that as well? Because I know she's on level with the city manager. And so I think for me, that closely gauges it, but I don't know if other associations do that as well. Do you guys have closed sessions where you evaluate the,
Yes.
for ICA?
Yeah, for Clean Power Alliance, for the.
Contract cities.
Yeah, contract.
Okay.
And we usually do, I think you usually do too. You always-
That's what's been done.
Yeah, because we always have done, and it is still going to happen.
Yeah, and it's still gonna happen.
It was just the issue is that the way that it lined up. We are trying to get out on the budget. And I think it should line up with the budget. That way you can allocate for future costs. This isn't the norm necessarily. And so I don't know, I'm welcome to any other feedback. We did discuss this at the last meeting. And it was kind of a one-off, but I'm just curious too how everybody else feels about it, because we've heard a few comments I wanna.
Yeah, I mean, I would just offer up, it's not the norm, right? I mean, and I think going back to Zane's point, we want to have the norm. And the norm is, closed session, have the discussion, have the performance, have the discussion on potential increases and whatnot. I would say that's the norm, right? So, but I think because of what we had to do to bring Jackie on as an employee, I would just offer up, this is not normal, right? So we're dealing with is something that was not normal, but when we get there, it'll be normal, if that makes sense.
Let me posit something, because we're talking about a mid-year budget now, and which we approved. But the real budget is going to be coming up for the new fiscal year. And at that time, there was time between now and then to schedule performance evaluation. I think that that's important, because I think all the board members should find out if there's any issues or reasons to for and against, and have a discussion in closed session that isn't in front of Jackie, to be able to address if there's anything that we should be aware of.
Okay, and I have a comment.
Are we looking to, or do we have a bunch of candidates looking to sit in that chair that I don't know about? I'm a little confused, all right? So bottom line is, if I'm hearing this all correctly, the increase was approved last year. It wasn't executed, but it was budgeted for that cycle. Am I correct?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I received a performance evaluation that was but it didn't exactly approve an increase at the same time.
So
that we budgeted, the staff budgeted it just.
So the issue is not whether or not it was decided whether it was acceptable. It just hasn't been executed yet.
The board did not make that decision.
The board approved it at the last meeting.
Yes, you did. It's the last meeting.
Yeah, for the.
That's what I'm saying, if we hadn't approved it, then we'd have a discussion, but we already approved it, so.
At the steering committee, so if you ratified it.
Yeah, that's.
We're ratified it.
Yeah, so I mean, if you wanted it to go back to the, I still feel the way that I do that it should go forward, that would just be my vote. But if you'd like, we can take it to a vote of, wanting to, for those that, that's what this forum is for, so.
Well, we don't do approvals of budgets and other important matters at the steering committee. That is not the main board meeting. I mean, some people can't make it to steering committee. So I think that to sit there and say that was already decided because it was decided
No, it
steering
wasn't
committee.
decided, it was discussed at the prior board meeting, and if I remember correctly, there was a vote, I know, at the board meeting.
So it was all of it happened this month at steering committee. The board officers discussed it before steering committee, made the recommendation to steering committee in February. The steering committee to
Look at it.
looked at the board officer's recommendation and decided to recommend it to the board, which is what's on your agenda tonight.
So this is the form where we would vote whether to ratify or not, so it's.
So I would make a motion to defer this question pending, having, as was mentioned, a formal, closed session performance evaluation, so we could have that discussion among the board members and then address the issue of a raise. I think that's the proper way, and there's no rush per se. We're only talking about another month, 2 at the most, before we have the final budget approval that we need to do. I believe it's in May, right? June, okay, so June, so there's even more time. So I'm just saying, I think it's procedures are important. It's important for people to have that discussion, you know, and be able to participate, because a raise is a benefit. I mean, it's for, and if there's issues, those need to be addressed among the board and say, are there issues? If they're not issues, we need to be assured that this is actually meritorious. And I'm not sure I have all the information, and maybe others feel the same way.
Yeah, no, for sure. We got your comment saying.
That was my motion. I don't know if I need a
But
second.
Zane has a comment.
My question is, if I recall from a couple years back or maybe a year back, that the contract, maybe this is inaccurate recollection, but an increase to the executive director's salary or cost of living causes an increase to all the other employees of the COG or triggers one. Is that an accurate recollection or inaccurate?
Accurate, yeah. What you might be remembering is that we added an automatic cost of living to the dues, but it has nothing to do with salaries.
Okay. So it won't trigger an automatic increase to the.
No,
Okay.
they've already
Well,
actually gotten an increase. Most of them.
all right. Look, my initial objection is really just make sure that we have an evaluation. I'm comforted by the fact that, you know, it is planned. David's saying that there will be an evaluation and that it'll follow, you know, closed session procedures for candid feedback and so on and so forth. So I'm comfortable with moving forward with this.
You do that every year.
Okay, so we still have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Do you remember what the motion is after we had all that discussion?
The motion on the floor was to table this until we get through the new budget and the review.
Not the new budget.
Just the performance evaluation.
Have a formal review, before we have the approval of the final budget for the next fiscal year.
So the motion would be to wait until we have the formal review to decide on an increase. Is there a second? Okay, it looks like the motion doesn't proceed, but do I have another motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approving the salary adjustment. Can take the vote. And we don't need to have it,
Okay, any opposition?
I will oppose based on my reasons stated.
Any abstentions? Abstain. Any other abstentions? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you, everybody, and there will be a review. You said in March?
No, April.
Yeah.
Oh, it's after the general.
Yeah.
Okay, which brings us to next, the General Assembly update.
Well, we're very, we put the General Assembly together every year and then wonder what we've gotten ourselves into. But actually, we're starting to think we've got something going here. So I'm really getting excited about it. First of all, I want to announce that we have Mark Rogandino, who was an Emmy Award-winning sportscaster on Fox 11 News, who's going to be the MC. And we just met him this week, and I think he's going to do a great job. He's going to MC and moderate the panels. We're not going to have big presentations. He's going to be more discussion style. We're going to give him questions. If you have questions you want to ask our panelists, make sure to give them to us, and he will field questions. And he's also going to come up with some of his own. So he was really great about it. We're going to start the morning. We're going to start the morning with a panel that's more on venues, and it's going to be, the West. Let's see. Um, Okay, it's going to be Elizabeth House from Redondo Beach, who is in charge of the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center. And then we're waiting to hear, hopefully we're gonna hear back, from Hollywood Park, because I'm trying to identify the name of a person who would talk about what's going on there, both sports and entertainment. We've invited someone from the San Pedro Chamber to talk about their art walk and all of the art events that they use to bring out the community and the cultural atmosphere in San Pedro. And we might have another person on that panel. And then we've invited a couple of mayors. We haven't heard back from a couple of mayors, but right now, so far, we have Torrance and El Segundo that are just gonna speak a couple of minutes about what they, as mayors, are looking at for these sports and entertainment in their cities. We still have to talk to them about that. Our lunch panel is going to be very, very interesting, or after lunch panel. Larry Cosmo is going to talk about the economics of these events and how they bring quality of life to your city. He did not want to do that alone. So he has asked for these people. We had some of these confirmed already, but we're moving Alan Sanford from Beach Life onto his panel. So Alan Sanford is Beach Life brings 30,000 people into the area in 3 days. I didn't realize that. We have Eric Johnson, who we met today also, who is the head of West Harbor Development. And he seemed like a really interesting guy he's from South Bay. We've got a lot of natives that are speaking, and they're very much South Bay people. And then Evan Eloff is speaking from Sports Facilities, and he works with cities on their sports and facilities, and he works very closely with Larry Cosmo. So Larry asked for him to be part of the panel. And then after that, we have another panel. We hope you'll stay for the whole day because we're also getting good raffle prizes. But the West Drift Hotel general manager is going to speak. West Drift is, as I think I've mentioned to you, is the home of the athletes that come in, and they're going to talk about the hotel industry and what that all means. Interesting. I'll tell you that in a minute. Then we have Metro is going to have somebody speak on regional transportation, and we have G-Trans that's going to speak now on how the local transit operators are handling special events and your beach route and other things. And then we have somebody from the city of LA who's going to talk about fan zones. And we're trying to confirm the final police chief to talk about public safety. So that's a full day, and I think we're trying to cover as much of the interesting policy issues as we can. I wanted to mention in all of this, I learned that, and this makes a lot of sense, you probably all know this, I didn't know this, that the Olympic athletes are coming in now. That, for example, in San Pedro, they don't have enough hotels because the athletes want to sail in the water they're going to be sailing in. And so we're already starting to see hotels impacted and other things from the Olympics. So this is going to be sort of interesting, and I think we're going to hear about that, and then hopefully all of our other art installations in the South Bay. So it's free, and we are going to pay for the first 250 cars that come in. Otherwise, parking is on the street or $20 for the spaces. Classy place. And you should know the West Drift Hotel is giving us a very good rate. We are listing as an in-kind contribution from them, just not publicly, but among us, that really the value that they're giving us is $40,000, but they've lowered their rates. So they've been really wonderful partners to work with. And then say
We're at 64,000 cash rates.
4,000. Our normal goal is 60,000. And we're exhibits. We don't have a lot of cities exhibiting, and we want more exhibits. If you have something like a railroad museum or something, except the auto museum in El Segundo. I mean, those are the kinds of things we'd love to have you have a table out there and do that if you'd like to. So please get in touch with us if you're interested in exhibiting, because we're trying to draw up the space and do the final deliberations now. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, so moving along to homeless services. We're running a little behind on
So they have a very interesting presentation, so we'll. Oh, I might try to make it.
There you go.
We're gonna start off with a presentation. Kevin, we soft launched a renter protection program that all of your cities renters can participate in. We're very excited about that. So Kevin's gonna get into that. And it also covers unincorporated in LA City. So your renters too can also participate. And then with that,
Thanks, Rasmus. Hey, good evening, members of the board. Kevin Romani here, Housing Project Coordinator with COG. As Vincent said, I'm going to provide an update of one of the La Casa mandated programs, the Renter Protection and Homeless Prevention program. And the next slide, just context. As you all know, voters passed Measure A in 2024, which is a house sales tax increase. We're bringing in $1.1 billion annually for homeless and affordable housing services. About 380 million of that goes to La Casa. And you can see on the table there, those are all the eligible jurisdictions, including us. We receive about $13 million annually to implement affordable housing production, preservation, and ownership programs, and also renter protection and homeless prevention programs, which is the topic of the discussion today. And then the next slide. Of that 13 million, 4.8 million is for, as I mentioned, the RPHP program. Those are all the eligible uses, but today we're going to be talking about two buckets of funding, which is the emergency rental and financial flexible assistance, also known as FERFA. That's what some people are calling it. And then there's the temporary rental assistance bucket of funding. The next slide. There's really four main things for someone to be eligible to be eligible for this program. First, obviously, they must live in LA County. To be eligible for our program, obviously, they must be eligible by being in the South Bay, being resident of one of our member cities or one of our jurisdictions. Two, they must have an income at or below 80% of the area median income. I have a table here, courtesy of the LA County Department of Regional Planning, to illustrate what it means to be 80% of the AMI. And if just for one, it's a bit small, I apologize, but just for one person, you are considered low income if you make $84,800 a year. So those are the two criteria. The main two to be eligible for this program is one, you must reside in a rental housing. You cannot be a homeowner. You must have a lease. If you don't have a lease, the La Casa guidelines are a bit flexible where you can have an attestation from a landlord if it's more of an informal agreement. And then the main piece is that these funds cannot be used for folks experiencing homelessness. And then in the next slide, these are all the eligible uses under, on the left, you see the IRFA and also the temporary rental assistance program. To the left, you see, traditional uses, security deposits, arrears assistance. There's a bit more flexible activities such as dependent care, short-term vocational training. And on the right, you see it is just rental assistance and utility assistance. The main difference between the two is that for the left on the IRFA, if you are enrolled or exiting a time-limited subsidies program, you're not eligible for this program. That's why you would be able to use the temporary rental assistance program. However, you would only be able to qualify for ongoing rental assistance and utility assistance for up to 6 months. And some overarching restrictions is that assistance is maximized at $36,000 over a 24-month period. And here are some of the service providers that are helping us, administer these funds. We fund prevention specialists for two organizations, that is the Watts Labor Community Action Committee, also known as WLCAC, and also Catholic Charities St. Margaret Center. City of Gardena, they have an existing rental assistance program, which we are supplementing. They are not live yet. We're finalizing, RPHP's processes and procedures, but obviously their existing program is online. We're pleased to share that both of our service providers are online. As of 2 weeks ago, WLCAC is officially launched, and the St. Margaret Center has was launched in November. And these two service providers administer a portion of the funds that we are given by La Casa. They dispense the IRFA and the temporary rental assistance bucket of funding. They assess household eligibility for the program, provide case management, budgeting, problem-solving experiences, problem-solving exercises. And then as you can see in these boxes, WOCAC covers more of the south side of the South Bay, Torrance, Gardena, City 15, and south to the peninsula. SMC is more of the northern side and the beach cities.
WLCAC will also be able to do Watts in the near future.
Right.
So that's going to come online soon. They have a separate contract with La Casa to do South LA.
Yes. Now you're wondering how can we all access this program? Well, if you head to the domain sbrenterprotect.com, it'll lead you to a page on our website where it goes over this program. See, if you're a member of the public and you stumble upon this program, you will see, or this page, you'll see the program information, what's it about, all the eligibility and income criteria, and then you also see the service providers that we just mentioned, except for Gardena, because they're not online yet. And you'll see the portals for both WLCAC and the St. Margaret Center. That will cover all the documentation required, also some language, covering expectations to receive assistance. I wanted to show a little bit of the work we've done so far, specifically for St. Margaret Center. Since November, we've received 196 referrals. Of those, 138 have been processed, meaning about 58 are still in the queue right now. When we started, we didn't anticipate the influx of referrals. We started with one prevention specialist, but we added another, help of another service provider that's helping us. So we are greatly, lowering that queue every day. But of those 138 referrals, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth. 3 have been resolved with no assistance required. So when we're speaking with a referral, they self-resolve on their own. 5 are no longer seeking assistance. That is essentially when we pick up the phone, they are no longer seeking assistance. They resolve it on their own, even before we contacted them. About 19 are currently pending. This means that they're being evaluated right now, collecting documentation. We think they're a good fit, doing problem-solving exercises, budgeting. 33 have been closed, unresolved. As you can see, a little bit the bottom's cut off, but this essentially means some of our protocols includes we have 3 at the minimum calls that we give, voicemails, texts, phone calls. And if they don't respond after that 3rd call, we provide them a 72-hour window to respond. If not, then they are removed from the queue. About 51 of those referrals have been referred to third-party services. 13 have been closed because they never responded even from the jump. And then about 14 have been processed to assistance. And while there is 14 processed to assistance, and you see 12 are enrolled, that's because 2 are currently waiting for their checks to be cleared before they officially get assistance. So overall, we've provided dispersed $76,000 of assistance to help folks from preventing and falling into homelessness. And that's just over about $6,000 per intervention.
Ask a quick question on that. I would have expected more people to have made it. I would have expected more people to have made it through that. Is it, obviously it's new, so you don't have all the answers now. But are there complicated hoops that they're not able to jump through? Or, are there things that we could do so that the acceptance rate instead of being 14 at this point, was it 19 today or 30?
Yeah, I think it's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good, thank you for bringing that up, because for about every 10 referrals that we are getting, about 1 or 2 are actually getting assistance. That is because, currently our net is very wide. The way SMC's portal looks like is essentially just asking for your name, your phone number, and then we're restricting the zip code based on geography. So that is a really big kind of catch that we're kind of asking. And a lot of the times calls, sometimes there's a lot of referrals that we refer to third-party services. Sometimes they're not even eligible for this program. It's a benefit for a county program, or they need legal services. A lot of the times folks need just budgeting help, or, you know, some people are gaming the system. So once they see all the documentation that's required, then they kind of full stop. I think Bronson has.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important is that, you know, we're cognizant that there could be a lot of fraud in this. And so we're doing a deep dive into their backgrounds, in terms of their lease agreements, their bank statements. And so we'll find things like, you know, why are you paying for 3 parking spaces when you're living by yourself? And so a lot of this is like a budgeting thing that we're finding. And so through these discussions, we're like, well, you gotta get rid of those parking spaces because we're not just gonna give you this money and you're paying for 3 parking spaces. So we're having those types of discussions. And a lot of those types of discussions, that's taking a lot of time. And so that's why it's been slow to go through the queue. We're finding that we're spending upwards of like 10, 20 hours just having those budgeting discussions. So one of the things we're looking to do is maybe calling some credit card companies or banks to see if they have budgeting experts that can help us get through some of these budgeting, like financial literacy things that we're seeing. That's one of the things that we're discovering as we're doing this. So good question.
Question, please. So, Bronson, and so, for example, if 20,000 people will show up, right? How much money that we have in the pot to give away?
2.5 million.
2.5 million. And is there like a limit for each city? Or is open?
For each seat or
City.
city. No, it's open. It's first come, first served.
It's open.
There's a per person limit.
That was the end of the slide. So questions are welcome.
Bronson has slides.
Hey, great. Yeah.
Hi, thank you. This is a naive question. What triggers someone to call in? If, let's say they're making $84,000, are they getting evicted? Or, I mean, I know there's a number of reasons, but is it, you said budgeting? They're gonna get evicted? How does it work?
No, that's a good question. What this is trying to capture is someone that's experienced a crisis. That's actually one of the qualifications. If you didn't experience a crisis in the past 12 months, you don't qualify. Crisis is you got in a car accident, you got laid off. These are all the things that qualifies you. So someone making $84,000 maybe back in, you know, August, but got laid off in October, that qualifies.
A case that one of our case managers gave to me today is individual fathers, their wife, you know, became severely ill, and that affected their work schedule. They had to work nights. They didn't have enough hours. You know, they became, you know, behind on rent, and they were still working. They started working Uber Eats, doing as many things as they could to, you know, make more income. But with the help of our case managers at SMC, they're able to, you know, look for any other sources of income, look for disability, unemployment, and then they eventually found a temporary job at the post office. And then that actually turned into a full-time job. So now they're employed, all of their arrears are covered, and they have full-time income. So a lot of the times folks just need a little bit of help. And it's great that we're able to help them.
Well, a lot of good stories to come. Colleen is gonna help us tell these stories. Yeah. All right. Just want to also give a quick shout out to Kevin. We soft launched in November. We're still the only jurisdiction in all of LA County that has us live right now. This is the largest program that we've ever created. So kudos to Kevin. Yeah. So just really quickly, Local Solutions Fund. This is another Measure 8 bucket of funds. This is for homeless. That one is not for homeless. This is for homeless. $3.1 million is going to be allocated to us in fiscal year 26-27. Cities, we've told cities to submit proposals for any new projects that they want to submit for by February 27th. And so we're gonna, in the month of March, we're gonna work with our cities to develop a budget for this funding and a tactical game plan for fiscal year 26-27. On April 13th, expect the steering and the board to approve our budget. And we'll submit that to the county. In the month of May, you may get at your city councils our MOU. So just be on the lookout in May for that. And we're trying to execute everything by June 30th. One little thing is, we will just want to, we will need to approve our budget by the April 13th steering so that the county can have our budget in time to get to that July 1 start date. We don't want to start any later than that because that would provide gaps in the fundings for some of our programs. So we're gonna ask that the steering approve our budget on April 13th. So that's a date. Next slide. Just a reminder, these are the programs we're currently funding. We got about $3 million this year. We have case management programs that basically cover all of the South Bay at this point. We have subsidy programs that allow all of our cities use client aid, time limited subsidies. And then we have shelter and housing programs. We have SRO units. We provide shelter costs for Torrance. We have crisis beds. This is to be contracted, but we've allocated funding for Inglewood crisis beds. And then we provide motel beds to multiple cities through our client aid program. And then the Share Housing to Employment program. This one was started by Manhattan Beach, and we rolled it out to the entire South Bay. It's super successful. We have about a 60% success rate in terms of people getting housing and also getting employment. So we'll continue most of these programs, and we'll try to find space for new programs. But this budget supported 500 people getting off the streets in a year's time. And just a reminder, our current PIT count, point in time count, we have less than about 1,000 people on the streets, which is great for our 15 cities. And so these are some of the interests of our cities that currently we haven't funded, but safe parking is actually set to expire. The county and LA State are both cutting back on their safe parking investments. So one of our safe parking lots is scheduled to close in June. So our cities are kind of worried about that and want to see that funded still. Mental health conditions and alternative crisis response are some of the other nice to haves our cities have requested. Next slide. One of the things I want to mention, this is really important, is the opioid funding. What we're learning is that, when I first looked at this a couple of years ago, I thought this funding can only go towards drug-related interventions. But it's turning out that this could be used for more homelessness programs than I originally thought. And all of your cities have gotten the settlement funding and will continue to get it. In LA City, they're scheduled to get $30 to $50 million for the next 18 years. So it's a lot of money. This is one city in Northern California. It's about the size of Torrance. What you have to do to get this funding, we just learned this week, is you have to go to every single one of these retail outlets. So CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. And what they're telling us, you have to apply for it, and then you can get these buckets of money. So in 24-25, this city got $898,000 through the settlement funds. And this goes all the way down to 2040. So they average about $250,000 a year in this money alone. That can be used for certain programs. So this is a valuable source of funding. And what we wanted, if you go to the next slide. Oh, actually, yes, just stay here. So what my ask is for you is, if you can ask who in your city is in charge of this funding, and have them send this to us. If they have something like this type of matrix, to send, because we want to know how much funding is out there for homeless utilizing these funds.
Hey, Ronson, last night, we approved $100,000 from the opioid funding to go towards Mercado.
Yeah.
So we just contract Mercado to go to mental health.
Yeah.
Home service.
Ron, let me just say that's one reason we wanted to discuss it today, is because we saw that, I think, on the agenda. And we really, if you're bringing caseworkers into the area, you really need to let us know so that the caseworkers are not duplicating the work. And so if you see it on your agenda, let us know. If you don't know what you're doing with your opioid funding, ask your city manager. If you need help applying through all these different places and you want to help, and we can pool the money for homelessness, let us know and maybe we can help.
Or the chief of police.
Yeah, yeah, we saw that. Axel, one ask is, I don't know if you can look into it, but utilizing this funds for safe parking.
Yep.
That would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know LA City is using some of this for Narcan.
Correct.
And so if there's any additional unearmarked, like use that for safe parking, that'd be great. This city is using these funds for safe parking. So that's actually how it got caught on our radar. Next slide. So what we want to do is work with your city to have a programming strategy for those funds. We're still gathering more information, we're still learning. But our ask is that you hold off on finalizing any programming, except for Hawthorne, until we have had a chance to kind of discuss this with your staff. And then the last thing I want to do is bring up Colleen and Moana. You guys can come up. There's an executive committee called ECRA, and they're responsible for advisory and accountability for all of Measure A. And these are the members on the ECRA staff. And Paige Calidrovic, Councilmember Paige Calidrovic, is our representative of the Southwest sector for this committee. And she's done a great job in advocating for us. One of the things she's trying to do is create alignment between the county and our cities. I think one of the things the county doesn't quite understand is how much investments our cities are making in homelessness. And so she wants to clarify roles between the county and the city, but in that role clarification, making sure there's funding resources to our cities who are doing the work of solving homelessness. And so she's continuing advocating for us. She did a presentation last week. And then in the next meeting, we're going to ask cities to come present on how they're investing some of their general funds and Measure A funds on homelessness so that the county understands the work the cities are doing. But Colleen and Wanda helped us shoot a video of Paige at work at this last ECHO meeting.
Just like 2 minutes, right? Yeah, less. Yeah, it's a very short video, but.
And we're happy to have Luana on board because we have about $114,000 that are dedicated just for marketing and communications from Measure A. And so we're updating materials, trying to produce more video content, and also updating the webpage with all these new elements. So Luana recently went to this meeting, and do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I just want to emphasize the importance of just capturing these types of actions, meetings, initiatives that city representatives are doing. So we can share with our audiences. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you for sticking it through for this meeting.
Each meeting should result in clear direction on what actions each jurisdiction is responsible for within that theme or category.
Today, I was presenting a plan, a collaborative action plan to solve homelessness in the county. This is one of the charges of the ECRA committee, which is the Executive Committee for Regional Alignment on Homelessness. We have county supervisors, the mayor of LA, a city council member from LA, and city representatives from the 4 various regions in the county.
And the core idea is just like a supported divide and conquer approach, where each part of the system leads where it's the strongest and supports where others may be leaking.
This plan actually provides direction for all entities in what they should be doing as we collaborate to solve homelessness. I think we all realize that we can't do it alone and that we need to engage with each other, support each other. And so we need this plan to really dictate what our role is in that. And I think that's what the voters are looking for us to do as well.
Ultimately, the final product of this work would be a set of recommendations across all categories, brought together in a final report and a truly collaborative regional plan to address homelessness.
I want to just say that Moana does these videos for us. She's our Civic Spark Fellow. Very, very talented lady. I also want to say that this is all very antiseptic and very positive. But one of the reasons I wanted to put a spotlight, and I think Bronson also wants to put a spotlight on ECRA, is that ECRA is a statutory committee that the county is supposed to, county representatives, that the county is supposed to take as an advisory board. And what just recently happened is the homeless budget did not even come before this committee. And so there was some really, I mean, it was sort of shocking that this committee's there, supposed to advise the board, and then the budget came to the board without going to this committee. So I think Paige is even more committed now to creating an action plan that actually will give some force to this committee, because it's essentially being ignored. And I think we're trying to work with other representatives to make sure that the spotlight that should be on this committee gets put on this committee. Thank you.
Is that wrap it up for that topic?
Yeah.
Okay, we can move along to the housing trust update.
So the housing trust update, we have 8 cities that have approved. It turns out every city that we have gone to so far has approved the housing trust. But the problem is we don't have the documents on file. And until I'm holding 4 documents, we don't have the housing trust. So I think we have Lonita, and that's the only document I have. If you could ask your cities to please send us the document, we can go forward. I'm assuming, and we've also asked for all the delegates to be appointed by March 31st. We have 2 delegates, one from Lawndale and one from Boone. Our L cities are going great. So that's what I need. I need those. Now, we still are talking about an April 24th first meeting. And so we're trying very hard to start thinking about what that first meeting is. I've already looked at the first meeting of the Sandy Brook Valley and Gateway Trusts. And we're gonna probably go up how they did, the kinds of things they did on their first meeting. We're meeting with Civic Home, all the documents, we're doing bylaws, we're doing conflict of interest, a lot of different organizational things. And we're meeting to get those. And then Mike Jenkins, our council, has found for us in BBK, his company, the parent company, an attorney that I will be meeting with on Monday, who I asked for her resume. She's a housing expert, and she will be our housing trust attorney until the housing trust board decides what they want to do. But what we're trying to do is put a lot of interim things in place, obviously, so that by April 23rd, we've got the documents you need, and then the board can decide how they want to go forward. There are 4 cities that are not going to be part of the trust, 5 cities, I should say, that are not going to be part of the trust. I guess we haven't asked LA. And then there are 4 other cities that for one reason or another would like to wait because of just personal things going on, or things going on in their city. But so that leaves 13, and I think by the time, excuse me, that does not leave 13. I think it's 5, and we're 16. That leaves 11. And by the time by 2 weeks from now, we will have been to all the cities, I think, that are planning to go. So that's sort of the update. We're working really hard to get those first meetings together, and you'll hear more in April.
I know that Redondo was waiting for some revisions to the document that were being worked. Has that been sent off to the cities?
Okay. Redondo asked for revisions in January with our attorney. And what happened was they negotiated. He accepted several of her changes and he did not accept others. And so after that happened, we sent out what we called the final document on February 9th. And so all of those changes that she asked for are in the one you might have seen, but it's not the final one. Final one is the one that includes the negotiation that they took. That's what's been going around to cities. And your city will have to look at it again, I guess.
Right, we haven't seen the final one, or I have not seen the final
Right.
yet.
Yeah.
But once it does come through, I'm assuming we'll support it, and Councilmember County Janich would be the representative.
Well, we're going to ask for letters from each city.
But I'm just saying, it's like, we've talked to the point of who would be representing, which I'm pretty sure implies that we're willing to do it, but we need that final document because
You have it, everybody, all the cities have it. Oh, and I should say, excuse me, after Redondo Beach did this negotiating, we decided this was gonna be a big problem if every city decided to change the JPA agreement. So I sent out, the last week in January, I sent out the final, what I called was the final agreement, every city manager, and said, show it to your city attorney and get it back to me by February 6th. On February 6th, we closed the door. No one made changes. No one made any more changes. And that is the agreement that I sent out February 9th that is being circulated.
I had a question. So has City of LA been engaged at all outside of our office, like LAHD or anyone else?
No, I guess there was sort of a feeling that we would ask the trust board if they wanted to engage the city of LA.
Yeah, because I know it might be a difficult fit with our current infrastructure, but
Right.
I'd like it to have a briefing at some point to kind of understand if it's complementary at all or if it makes sense, but I don't want to complicate it with our city attorneys because you'd be in the loop for a year.
And I think that, yeah, and we also didn't ask the county if they wanted to. I think that's a trust board sort of an issue. And we'd love to give you a briefing anytime you want. Senior services, is there anything?
Yeah, we're having the SB WIB present on for seniors who may want to add to their income, retirement income, so job opportunity, employment opportunity, things like that. That's March 20.
Andy Seelig from Metro.
Oh, okay. Can you give the transportation number?
Sure. Hi, so the big news out of today's Metro board meeting, very short meeting, but the.
Yeah. There you go.
Hi, so. Greetings.
Hi, so the big news at today's Metro board meeting was that the Purple Line extension date was given. It will be opening up on May 8th. So 3 new stations on Wilshire Boulevard, La Brea, Fairfax, and La Cienega will be opening on Friday, May 8th. So much anticipated, 11 years of construction. We're excited to have that open at that time. So that was kind of that happened the first 20 minutes of the meeting, and that was kind of the really exciting part about that. We also are having the ad hoc board composition committee had its first meeting on Monday. They approved a motion to have a community outreach plan, among other things. We'll be going out to the service councils and COGs to do a presentation about what this committee is and how we're going to be gathering input. But that was passed on Monday, and actually at Monday's service council in Redondo Beach, we'll be having a presentation about kind of the backstory about how the committee was formed and next steps on that. And that's pretty much it. Throne. I thought you might want to comment. Yes, with my group.
When you're done,
Yeah, I'm done.
What I was gonna comment was, I don't think I told you all this, that the Metro Board Composition Committee was picked by the Metro Chair and there was no COG representative on it. And we were very, very upset about it because all the COGs are spending Metro money. There was a labor representative, there was I think different kinds of special interest, and there was no COG representative. So I did talk to our Michael, Jim Butz's person, and that wasn't very successful, but the Las Virgenes Malibu, Terry DeVol, who's the executive director there, talked to the chair of the board. Is Ara the chair of the board? No, well, yeah, I guess he talked to the chair. Anyway, he was put on the committee, and I was very happy about that because he talks up. He's a big, he's been around and he knows all of them. He does not sit in a meeting. So he is representing us. He went to that first meeting. In my opinion, they're making a giant thing out of this. It's going to be 6 meetings, and they're going to talk about equity and all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the day, they're going to come up with what they come up with. But we will get their presentation in April.
Who's doing land use and transportation?
I think Anne's.
Well, we have one more. Yeah.
Oh, yes, we have to pass the. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I can do it real quick. Measure R.
Each 2. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, it's page 87 in the agenda packet. Every year we bring back the Measure R program update. This is for the highway program. It was actually a pretty quiet year this year for that one. We have 3 recommended project adjustments. that are essentially for two different projects. One is a County of LA project that is an ITS implementation project. They asked for an additional 1 million, which would bring their total funding to 3.42 million. The other two are kind of connected metro projects. Metro's implementing an integrated corridor management system on the I-105, which integrates the freeway system with all of the individual city or county systems on the off the freeway. If you all remember that big fire that was on the 105 many years ago, this is a kind of a response to that. So if there's ever a big incident again, the systems will all start to talk to each other, so there's not a huge backup on the freeway. They'll start to divert people around the incident. The second one, 31286, is a independent quality assurance task that was originally thought to be required by Caltrans. And it was going to be $150,000. They've gotten through that process and actually do not need that anymore. So they're going to deobligate that $150,000. But Metro is also asking for $3.65 million in additional costs for the main project itself. Metro is bringing their own funds to the project. The COG share is 26.5 million. And so all in all, when you take off the 150,000, the total additional funding being recommended to the board tonight is 4.5 million. After that, we would, if approved, we would have about 47.8 million available for the rest of the Measure R projects through the end of the program in 2039. And this was a recommendation from the Transportation Committee to the board, and I can answer any other questions you may have.
Do you have any questions, or do we have a motion?
Move.
Second? Do we have?
Second, I was there.
Who was the second?
Brad Waller, but on.
Okay, well,
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
okay, now we're gonna,
Anne, were you gonna, was Anne here? Is Anne still here? No, it's not.
Oh, so then that's done with it.
That was current.
So what, let me just tell you on the REAP projects, we did the commercial redevelopment has done more fine tuning and has come up with, working with cities. I'm getting bored of it. And so the participating cities are Torrance, Hawthorne, and Carson, and they've been sharing their data. Larry Katzman is wrapping up their feasibility analysis to determine the viability of redevelopment on the properties that they've identified. And there is a web-based map tool that we're going to be providing to all cities that will help you determine where possible commercial redevelopment sites are. So that was happening. And then we have the mobility hubs, which we're working with the city of, with Metro. And there's a scoring tool that has been developed to figure out the site selection for where mobility hubs should be. Tonight, Jake talked to Gardena and Hawthorne about some of the sites that they're looking at. We have to talk to Carson as well. And then we go into the weeds and we look at different characteristics of the block groups and the potential sites. And the consultant will prepare an inventory, looking at services and amenities that we might put into those mobility hubs. These are both planning studies. The third project we have is the housing trust, and we already talked about that. And then I can just say the South Bay Fiber Network, I have no news to report. It turns out that our American Dark Fiber, who is the owner of our current owner of our network, has received the contracts for the Olympics. And so he has spent the last several weeks in Milan, and so there has been no progress. Do you want me to go on? Yeah. Okay. This is on, we have another short video, which is the Kids for Kids. Is that it's 2 minutes?
2 minutes, a little bit. Yeah, it's 2 minutes.
And I'll just add that Moana also did this video. So if she's still there, she gets kudos for this.
Moana, we're a big video now that we have Moana.
We're here to celebrate the kids or students at Ramona Elementary School for their participation in the Kids for Kids program through SoCal Rent. I'm excited today to celebrate all of you for doing your part in saving our planet.
We are so honored to have many special guests here with us today who helped make this learning possible.
In collaboration with South Bay City's COG, we were able to target way many more elementaries in the district and in the area. And with that, we were able to get 19 classrooms to be eligible, and we were able to give $19,000.
Teachers enroll their classrooms into the program, and we have our Kids for Kids program managers, the instructors that come into the classrooms, give them a lesson and they receive a kit. The kit includes several items, including LED light bulbs, faucet aerator, a night light.
It's really giving them a hands-on feeling of what it's like to save energy and really protect our planet and help their families and their homes.
I'm excited about this challenge because I really like to see how the kids really embrace the concept of learning about energy and how they can put their part into using these materials.
When this program was started, the vision was to not only help students, but to help teachers and to help the classroom. So we created a program that is all about energy education and that can make these concepts very much accessible and easy. And so it was always meant to have a big impact. It was always meant to go beyond the student to their siblings, to their families, but we wanted to start in the classroom.
I want to thank Ramona Elementary for having us and celebrating the students here because they've done a wonderful job at participating and taking the initiative to be a part of a bigger goal in saving our planet.
And then I just want to add that Colleen did the shooting of the video. So if Colleen is still there, she was the one that did all the shooting. And this is a result of the energy team reaching out to all the schools in the South Bay that could qualify for this program and then putting together these celebrations. They actually did 7 assemblies in 1 week. They went to 7 different schools and did assemblies. And then Jackie, you want me to go ahead and go on to the, okay. And then also I wanted to let you know, we have updated energy efficiency award criteria, and we have given that new criteria to your city staff already. The city staff met with our energy management working group actually today. We had 10 cities that attended that. We also had 1 school district, and they talked about this particular program. The biggest thing that has changed on the energy awards is that we did work with our water partners to add a partners award. And so in addition to doing energy efficiency and also promoting energy efficiency within your cities, we are adding promoting water conservation. And so they'll get cities that do those activities will get also recognized at the end of the year in December for their efforts. And so that's something to in place. And then one other thing, I am at a conference and I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but I wanted to say that everybody at this conference thinks the South Bay is fantastic. They think Gardena is like the most wonderful place to do the direct install for the commercial program. And I was actually sitting in a session, and it wasn't even my session. And somebody that was making the presentation said, and I want to call out the South Bay City's Council of Governments and Kim Fuentes, who is the celebrity in the room here, who helped implement the commercial program and then invited everybody there to come to our session. And we promoted the program. We talked about why it was so successful. We talked about the teamwork that your staff did to get the word out there and to engage these businesses. And I had over 100 people attending that session. So it was very positive. And I had a lot of people coming up to me afterwards, people that want to go, to the point about grants. I must have had 3 different people ask me can we partner with you on grants? So it was all wonderful, and I'm really glad we came down here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, opportunities to serve. Okay, I just want to remind you, March 20th is the deadline this year for the opportunities to serve. We have the SCAG Energy and Environment Committee, which is currently Britt Huff, who has already put her name back in the hat. But it's open for every 2 years. We open these things up for anybody else. The Cal City's Regional Director, who is Barry Waite, he's already put his name back in the hat. And then we have our call for nominations for the Metro Service Council. 3 positions are open there. I've heard the 3 incumbents. I think I've had 1 incumbent contact me, but I've heard the 3 will. And then if you're in a regional council city, Gardena, Hawthorne, and Inglewood, Mark Henderson is up for re-election to SCAG. And El Segundo, Hermosa, Lawndale, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes Estates, Rancho Palos Verdes, Redondo, Rolling Hills Estates. Drew Boyles is up for nomination there, for election there to stay in his SCAG seat. And so March 20th, please let me know, and we'll be back at the April meeting with the recommendations. Okay, so at the next item on your agenda is the proposed county sales tax. We were at a new thing, the COG chairs meeting, and we had this conversation, with LA County COG chairs, excuse me. So Bernadette was there and Bill was there, and we met with the other COG chairs, and we all talked about the county sales tax and taking a position, possibly taking a position on it. So we have this right up in front of you. It's a loose sheet here. And in case you're not familiar, the supervisors put on the ballot a sales tax for the June 2nd ballot. In front of each table. And that sales tax would raise the half cent until October 1st for 2031. The purpose of it is to make up for lost federal funds. It establishes a 9-member oversight committee, but I listed the members of the oversight committee and I was a little surprised they're all part of the county.
Why is that shocking to anyone?
I guess I thought oversight committees would not be all part of the county.
Because they're not meant to oversee.
So, and then the auditor is supposed to prepare an independent audit. And if you look on the back page, here's the motion, and it has very, very specific percentages going to very specific places. I am not going to read it for you. I don't know if our county representatives want the same thing, but it's here for your discussion. It's not that you can do it what you will, but we thought we should bring it to you.
To just piggyback off of that, the general sentiment from those other chairs they were not in support from what they indicated. Full transparency, I'm not in support of it, but I'd love to hear any other comments if you'd like to take a position or not.
Go ahead, please.
Hello, Irma from the county. This was a motion passed by Supervisor Mitchell in support with Supervisor Hollis. It did pass on February 10th and will go to the general ballot in June. It is no surprise, and it's no wonder you haven't seen the news, but HR 1 is going to affect us in aspects that we've never seen before, and it's already taking place. This is a preventative measure, but it is going up to the voters. And I understand everyone has their views and, it's a conversation, but this is a preventative measure because at the end, when these clinics close down, they would flood county hospitals, which are free, and it will make access to healthcare way harder. That's all I have to say.
Can I ask a question?
Lance had a question, then I'll.
Go ahead, you can go.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question was, this is I would say it's a federal problem, it's a state problem, in addition to an LA County problem, right? So I'm just asking, okay, so let's say LA County has the ballot initiative, it passes. So again, what happens with the people in Orange County or Riverside County? Are they just gonna come to LA because you've got the money?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm just,
So I guess question for the audience, why on the June ballot? Because only 25% of the people vote. not on the November ballot, when you'll have about 68 to 70% of the people vote. So this is being forced down everyone's throat. You're piggybacking on Measure A. And it's ironic that it's the same 0.5%. I don't believe in this 5-year sunset clause either, because this is a forever tax. Because once 1.1 or $1.2 billion hits your bottom line in the county, you can't replace that. So in 5 years, you're going to still need it because there's no way to make up the delta between what you already have raised and what you're expecting. So, I mean, at least you guys put a sunset clause in there, not like Measure A, which is a forever tax, because if you ever solve the homeless problem, then there'd be no need for that money. So I have a real problem with this. This is another 0.5%. We're going to have, in some cases, 11% sales tax in this county, in this area, 11%. So this is hitting consumers. This is hitting businesses who are leaving. This is hitting everyone. And I really think that this is, I'm sorry, I can't think of another word because I'm kind of a facts over feelings guy. This is shameful to put this on the ballot. I got to be honest with you. I don't get it. It shows that you clearly don't care about the people that have to pay this tax, because you're just coming up with a whole list of reasons why you need it. But the reality is during COVID, you received $3 billion worth of federal funds. So this is to make up for the $3 billion shortfall that was never supposed to be there to begin with. It was only there because of COVID funds. So the infrastructure has been built up to need an extra $1 billion a year. So that's really what's happening there. And I really, honestly, as a COG, we have to take a position against this. I don't see any way possible that it benefits anyone in this room or your constituents. I don't see it. And again, when you look at the facts of this, when it's being put on the ballot, when it got shoved through in June, when no one's paying attention to an election. That's just the reality, straight facts over feelings about what's going on. The oversight committee, that is, when I read through that one, I didn't even know that part. Why bother? Just put Mickey, Minnie, Pluto, and Goofy on it, because you're going to get the exact same thing. And it's really unfortunate that this is happening on back of what just happened. Then the other thing is the state, if I remember correctly on this, it's a 10.5% maximum ceiling, right? Unless the percentage can be tied into homelessness or health and human services. So this could go to 11%, it could go to 12%, it's going to go on forever. At some point in time, you got to take a stand.
Okay, Brad, and then Craig, and then Jeff.
Yeah, I'll note that 2 of my city council members have already sent letters in favor of this. That said, I don't think the COG should take a position either way. I can see taking one against, but I think if we look around, it might be mixed enough that it might just be something where the COG shouldn't step into this thing necessarily, but happy to hear the rest of the debate too.
Right.
So Palos Verdes Estate's already taken a position. We sent in a letter in opposition for this. So I'd like to see the COG fall in line and support the opposition for all the reasons that were mentioned. And one of the understandings that I have is that all the money, I believe, is going to go into the general fund. So yes, there's no real
forgot that one
safeguard in terms of what they're going to use it for. So
it doesn't help us.
We're in opposition.
Jeff, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just very quickly, the Los Angeles County Division did last night decide to officially oppose this bill. We're also opposing the legislation that the county is seeking, AB 1768, that is going to exempt this tax from the sales tax cap, the 2% sales tax cap, which you just referenced. So we're certainly going to be in opposition to this.
Yeah, and our city also opposed it and sent a letter. Or actually, I spoke at the Board of Supervisors, and thanks to Jennifer, gave me an option because 700 people for 90 minutes, but, and contract cities voted to oppose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is going to be a problem. It's a regressive tax, as mentioned, can be used for anything. So it really, is not, makes it look like a special tax, so it's this much for this much for that. But that has no application, because it's not earmarked as a special tax, and that was done. There were statements made that, well, we had polling that said we would win if it was a general tax with a majority vote, and would not win if it was a 2/3. But be that as it may, I just think that most voters are going to look at this and think it's a special earmarked system because of the way it's worded, when it's not. And no practical matter, it doesn't have anything in there that says, what if the federal government restores this funding? This tax still applies. And there's nothing in there that says it's going to be ending when the emergency ends. And it's actually applying past Trump's term. So, I mean, theoretically, a new president could change all that anyway, even if he doesn't have changed mind before then. So I would vote that we make a motion to.
So is that a motion?
Yes, I make a motion.
Okay, can I, sorry, does anybody else that wanted to speak, make any comments? Okay, John?
According to plots, the send sales tax to the sound of one hand clapping. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask if you could, because I agree with you, if you can add in there to oppose also the state legislation that, so if we could do it as the league did, if you would approve that, then I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Anybody else want to speak?
Any opposition? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Abstain.
I'm going to abstain because I haven't talked to my council.
Let me go down the row. So LA City abstain,
Two county representatives.
Redondo abstain.
District 4 is abstained. Ward.
4 abstain. And up
Yeah, for the same reason, I haven't gone to the council, so I don't wanna
abstain
jump the gun.
and awkward abstain. Okay, so that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yes votes. Which would not. How many people do we have here tonight? 32.
Abstentions don't count, so you don't need if it's 8 yes, no no's and abstentions.
We have 1 no.
We only have 14 people here, which means we need 8 votes.
We need 8 votes.
8 affirmative.
8 affirmatives, so
We have
it would
8
pass, yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can I just, one more announcement, and that is, please, while we're on legislation, our legislative briefing is April 3rd. That's the morning of Good Friday, so stop by on your way or whatever you do on Good Friday, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's a Friday and not Thursday. Please plan to come and we'll, and then don't forget to come to the General Assembly.
Okay, I think that's all we had. So thank you everybody for sticking it out.
Any question?
All of these email, I think, like you.